what's up, everybody? Welcome to UFC Roundup. I'm Paul Felder. He's Michael Chiesa, and we are here to obviously preview and talk UFC 282, talk a little bit of this past weekend. And, we got fights coming up. We got a main event, Michael, that's not exactly the one that we were anticipating.
Paul, I hate to cut you off, but in the last 2 years, in the 2 years of Roundup, we've seen you go from dipping your toes into the triathlon world to now you're running these insane road races, and now you got corporate sponsorship, Paul. I mean, turn it around. Let's see the hat. Oh, man. My guy, Paulie Felder. This is a guy going from professional mixed martial arts to now becoming a professional triathlete, Paul. I mean,
still amateur.
To me, you're a pro. To me, you're a pro. When I hear the war stories about what you're doing in the garage and out on these competitions, you're a pro in our book, Paul. So congratulations to you, Everyman Jack. You picked a winner. You picked a good guy. Very stoked for you, Paulie. So now we can get back to talking about
now we can talk. Awesome team, awesome guys. I'm slow compared to the guys I'll be working with, but yeah, man. 282, Ankalaev, Jan, not the fight, neither guy necessarily what we were anticipating, but Yuri, crazy shoulder injury, pulls out, doesn't want the title, is going to be out for a long time. And then to Glover's credit, when you're taking on somebody potentially on short notice like Ankalaev, you want a little extra time. The guy has been in the game a long time. He's a veteran. He doesn't want to go in there and recklessly fight somebody new. But here we are. Blachowicz accepts the fight. Ankalaev accepts the fight. This is an interesting and exciting fight to close out the year. What are your thoughts initially on this matchup? Who do you favorite? What do you got going on in this one?
Before I dive into the matchup, I got to talk about Glover a little bit. I don't blame him for not jumping in there with Ankalaev right away. This is a guy where time is not on his side. If he was in his 30s, he could jump in there with anybody, come up short, bounce back, and fight his way back to a title fight. But time is not on his side. And he said he would have taken the Jan Blachowicz fight, but the UFC, and rightfully so, Ankalaev has earned the right to be the next guy, given the circumstances. So he asked for a little more time. They weren't willing to give it, and that you have to understand that this is a pay-per-view. We need a title fight. So this was the fight to make. So I don't shame or frown upon Glover's decision to bow out of fighting Ankalaev on short notice, because it is a different fight. Now, when it comes to this matchup, Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev, I'm just going to come out and say it right away. I like Ankalaev in this fight. He's rolling hot. He's walking tall. And I just think that for Jan, he's had a taste of the title. He's kind of getting to the I would say, the glory years of his career. And it's one of those situations where in order for him to go out there and beat a guy as well-rounded and as talented as Magomed Ankalaev, it's going to require some type of Hail Mary. It's going to require him tapping into some of that Polish power. But I just think that when it comes to stand-up, I think Ankalaev is just too savvy. I just think you're not going to find a home for a lucky punch against a guy as disciplined as Magomed Ankalaev on the feet. Now, when it comes to submissions, we saw Magomed kind of laid off the gas against Paul Craig and got caught with a very, very, the epitome of a Hail Mary submission. But I just don't see, when it comes to Jan pulling off this fight, I just don't see him being able to pull off a decision. It's going to require some type of, is Tom Brady would say, a sticks route. Let's just line him up, run as far as you can, throw the long ball, and hope for a touchdown. So I think that Ankalaev it's going to be one-way traffic over 5 rounds.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's the one that has the ability to dictate the pace of the fight. And unfortunately, that could mean he could slow it down quite a bit and pick his shots. Or what I'm hoping to see out of Ankalaev in this matchup is, listen, this is now you've got this belt that's on the line. It's up for grabs. This is the moment. We've seen some slower fights from you. We've seen some insane finishes from you. This is the perfect opportunity. If you want to be that star, if you want to be this title holder, you got to go out there, man, and try to put him away, because Jan's going to. I think Jan has no choice, right? I think we agree in the fact that if he wants to go and get that belt again, he's got to go after Ankalaev. He's got to bring it. He's got to try to use that Polish power and knock him out. I don't see him be able to take him down, control him. Neither guy, I think, really going to be hunting big submissions or anything like that. They're going to be trying to take each other's heads off. And Ankalaev has more tools to do that, I believe. And I just think he's more well-rounded. I think he's younger, bigger, stronger. But like we talked about, Jan does have that ability. If you get lazy on him, he'll put your ass out. He'll definitely hit you with that left hand, hit you with a hook, and put you away. But I agree with you, Michael. I think this is Ankalaev's fight. And I also agree 100% that Glover did the right thing. You know, I know it's not necessarily what the UFC wanted, and I know they want people to step up, but at his age, at his point in the game, he does not need to do that. If he doesn't want to ever fight again and he wants to just coach Alex Pereira, he could do that. Do you know what I mean? He could sit back and enjoy the fruits of his labor and watch his students go on to become champions and stay champions. So I'm in agreement on all of that.
You know, and when I look at the matchup too, you know, Jan's well-rounded. He's got submission skills. He's got good kickboxing. We saw the kicks on display against Dominic Reyes. You know, he's got good boxing. He's well-rounded. I just feel like Ankalaev is just like a hybrid version of Jan. I feel like he's just like the upgraded version. He's well-rounded as well, but there's just a few more wrinkles to his game. And we've talked about the main event. We've touched on Glover Teixeira. We got to talk about Jiri Prochazka. I mean, he gets a devastating shoulder injury, one of the worst shoulder injuries Dana White says he's ever heard about. Whoever reported the injury to him, whoever Jiri went and saw, said it's one of the worst injuries they've seen in the sport, seen in general. And Jiri steps down as the champion, and he says it's for honor. It's not right for him to have to go through this recovery process while he's, you know, holding the title. So he relinquishes the title, puts it up for grabs for the guys in this main event. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Paul?
I like that, right? I mean, we see too many times the divisions get held up for extended periods of time, especially like we're talking about. If it's something that you can go in 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, and then you're back rehab, you know, maybe put an interim belt up and you're getting closer to being able to step back in the octagon. But if you know for at least a year that you are going to be out, or over a year, depending on how bad this shoulder surgery is and how bad the recovery is going to be, I think that's the right thing to do. That sucks, man, because I feel like he was really hitting his stride, and he's one of the most exciting fighters that the UFC has to offer in any division. This guy is just a savage. He lives this warrior lifestyle, locked himself in a room. How long did he stay in a room by himself?
I think it was 3 days. 3 days of like no light, no nothing, no water. Where'd you pee? Like
I can barely fall asleep at night.
Where did you go? If you had no light, where did you pee? You know, and obviously you're gonna go number 2. Where did you do that? You know,
he probably wasn't drinking water.
Funny, but I'm like, what did you do in this time?
Pee in the corner like a goddamn samurai savage that he is.
You know, and the one thing I will say, Paul, is I think that when it comes to this injury, I don't think it was like a something he had that was like spooling up to be what it became. I trained with Jiri days before the news was released. I went and did a wrestling practice with him, Sean Strickland, Edmund Shabazian, a lot of those Vegas guys. We did like a really hard MMA grappling session, and I mean, he was moving around just fine. You know, I got some live rounds in with him, and there was nothing that gave me any indication that he was going through anything. So I think that
Michael, did you hurt Jiri Prochazka? Is this? Are we breaking this? Are we breaking this live on Roundup? Holy crap! Breaking news: Chiesa is the one that took out. Man, that's impressive, Michael. Maybe you should move up a couple of weight classes, buddy.
But I think for Jiri, I think it was something that it had to.
You're a savage,
my guess would be a freak accident. I think something bad happened in training where he really just blew his shoulder up. I don't think it was like a slow nagging thing.
Are steep from the second floor to the first floor. If you've never been in the in the UFC PI, he may have fallen down those.
Yeah, it could be. That very well could be. It remains to be known, but I'm sure the news will break soon what happened to the shoulder of Jiri Prochazka.
I'd like to know. and just for you fans, we do have a special guest today. I want to let you know that we're going to be interviewing Billy Quarantillo. Billy Q will be on here soon. And he's got a good fight coming up against Alexander Hernandez. The dude is exciting every single time he brings it. So that's obviously one of the fights that we want to highlight on this card. We're going to talk to him in a little bit. But real quick, we're going to talk to Billy about some of the aspects of this co-main event that's happening. But my boy Jarrett, man, this is huge, dude. You get to fight. Not only do you get to fight Patty, which is one of the fights everybody in the lightweight division wants, right? Because he's bringing eyeballs to you. And you know, he's still a little young in the game. A lot of guys are looking at Patty, not saying and not taking anything away from the man's skill set. He's obviously getting W's in the UFC. He was getting W's outside of the UFC. But people seem to think that this is the time to get him, right? And Jarrett gets that opportunity, and it happens to be a co-main event on a pay-per-view. What are your thoughts on the fight real quick? We'll talk about this a little later as well. So let's just get some thoughts.
It's something Gilbert Burns said that kind of resonated with me when I think about this fight with Jared Gordon and Paddy Pimblett. You want to catch, like when he's talking about Khamzat Chimaev, you want to catch them when they're on the rise. You want to catch them when they're on the rise, not to steal their spotlight, but to get them before they reach their maximum potential. And I think that Paddy, he's a vet. He's had a lot of fights. He's a longtime Cage Warriors champ. He's fought a lot of tough competition, but he's still on the rise. I think it's a good time for Jared Gordon to kind of intercept that. And you're going to love this. And for Paddy, we're going to really dive into that matchup when we talk to Billy. So I'm not going to really get into the X's and O's and things of that sort. But Paddy Pimblett finds himself in a situation where when he wins this fight, if he wins this fight, if he wins this fight, because this is a tough fight, he could be looking next. He could be fighting somebody with a number next to their name. And there's guys waiting in the wings like Charles Oliveira. Or, Paddy said that him and Conor could pull crazy numbers if they were to ever fight each other. So Paddy goes out there, and if he gets the job done.
I like how you did that, by the way, Michael. I like how you did that. Check.
Check. And for people that don't know, my counterpart did beat the former lightweight champion, Charles Oliveira. But look, Paddy, if he goes out there and beats Jared Gordon, he's going to find himself in a big fight. And I don't know if it's going to be somebody with a number next to their name. It could be a Conor McGregor. That's in Conor's court. That's not out of the realm of a possibility, because if he can go out there and get past Jared Gordon, I mean, they're going to want to use the star power that this kid possesses and do something great with him. So I'm excited to see it. I mean, the Paddy Pimblett experiment's been pretty interesting thus far.
Yeah, I agree. It has been. And the dude is full of confidence. And I do think he's only getting better, right? And every time he gets in there, he's gaining confidence, because when Paddy fights, he doesn't get the luxury of being on some way down on the undercard. He's not early. Eyeballs are on him. They've been on him since he got into the UFC, and it's the way he's wanted it. So I think that's to his advantage in this matchup. I think Jarrett's had a lot of big fights, but this is definitely the biggest of his career to be a co-main event on a freaking pay-per-view. It doesn't really get much bigger other than being the main event on a pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, this pay-per-view has had some things sliced and diced, and it's had some unfortunate things happen to it, but it's still the spotlight. It's still something people are going to be tuning into, and a lot of people from the UK for sure are going to be watching Paddy the Baddy fight. So just I'm really happy for Jarrett. I think this is a long time coming. The guy's busted his butt for years. He's had a lot of ups and downs. So to get a big fight with Paddy, I know he wanted it for a long time. I'm just
he called for this fight a long time ago. He called this shot. And Brett Okamoto broke the news just moments ago, about a half hour ago. Robbie Lawler had to withdraw from his fight with Santiago Ponzinibbio due to an undisclosed injury, and I believe that was the featured bout on the main card. So that was a fight I was looking forward to a lot. But I wish Robbie Lawler nothing but the best. Hopefully he recovers and is able to bounce back. But I want to dive into a fight that I'm looking forward to on the card. And as I look through this card, it reminds me of Orlando. There's a lot of these hidden gems just stacked throughout the card, and I gotta say, I'm really looking forward to Ilia Topuria versus Bryce Mitchell. I think that this is a very tough test for Bryce Mitchell. I mean, Ilia Topuria, the way he handled Ryan Hall, who's a tremendous grappler, a guy that really you would think if you put – I think that Bryce has better wrestling than Ryan Hall, but when you talk about grappling skills, I mean, on paper, Ryan Hall is a better grappler than Bryce Mitchell, but Bryce, his MMA grappling through the roof. He's got good MMA wrestling, and I think that this is going to be a tough test for him. We're going to really see – where Bryce Mitchell is at, and I'm a big fan of him, so I'm really looking forward to that fight. What about you, Paul? What's a fight for you?
I'm just looking through the card and things that stick out. Obviously, Raul Rosas Jr., the very young man that got signed from the Contender Series, will be making his UFC debut. I'm sure that's intriguing to a lot of people. The youngest fighter on the roster by far, had to have his parents sign a consent form for him to fight on the Contender Series. That's how young this kid is. And this fight too, Chris Curtis and Buckley are fighting. That's going to be pretty bananas, if I have to say. So obviously Billy Q, who we're going to talk to in a little bit, taking on Hernandez. You're right, Michael. There are a lot of those kind of gems on this card. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I know things have been shuffled around, but trust me, tune into this one. It's filled with amazing fights. Even though it's not the main event that we were all anticipating that we were going to see, it's still very intriguing and very fun. And it's the last one, man. Don't stop now.
Yeah,
Last
don't stop now.
Year.
And for people that are watching this, we filmed this on Monday. And about a half hour ago, Brett Okamoto broke the news that Robbie Lawler had to withdraw from his feature bout with Santiago Ponzinibbio. That's a tough one, man. I was really looking forward to seeing Robbie and Santiago. That had fireworks written all over it. And we wish nothing but the best for Robbie, and hopefully he bounces back soon.
100%, man. Oh, never fun news to hear get recently broken. And speaking of Orlando, Michael, you're still down there in Florida, hanging out at the uncle's house and uncle's house down there.
Yeah,
Where are you at, Tampa?
I'm in St. Petersburg, right outside of Tampa. I'm in Billy Q's neck of the woods. I should have just went to his house and stormed the castle. And
we could have interviewed him.
Yeah, I worked the desk for the Orlando show, man, and it was electric. I mean, from the moment
talk about that main event, man.
Yeah, from the moment the first fight started to the main event, it was a packed house, and what a fight that was, man. That was like it just, I'm standing next to Alan Jouban, and we're just like jumping and flexing, and by the time the fight gets over, I'm sweating through my suit. What a fight. I mean, Kevin Holland really not the smartest thing to do when you have these moments where you get Steve Wonderboy on the ground and you let him up because you have this gentleman's agreement, like, I'm going to stand and trade with you. And if Wonderboy knows there's no threat of a takedown, you're undoubtedly going to get the best version of him. And that was the best version of Wonderboy that we have seen in a very long time. When there's no threat of a takedown, dude, this is a 57-0 kickboxer. I believe that's his record. Hopefully I'm not wrong there, but 57-0 as a kickboxer.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to hand him his first loss as a kickboxer? I mean, that gentleman's agreement came back to bite Kevin Holland in the butt. But for us as fans and spectators, what a treat that was. That was such an amazing performance from both men.
And you know what? This is where I get kind of perplexed, right? With the MMA community and how they react to things. Because if a fight's strategic and boring and there's lots of tactics and takedowns and control, people are like, we didn't pay to see this. We want to see a fight. And then when a fight happens and you got a guy as crazy as Kevin Holland who delivers, doesn't get the W, hurts his hand, gets kind of overwhelmed in the kickboxing department, but has his moments, waves him up. We go, not us. I'm saying this is our job to be tactical. But for the fans to be like, oh, man, what an idiot. Why would you do that? It's like, wait a minute. The guy went out there and agreed to stand with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and have a battle back and forth on the feet. And you're going to – we're blessed to have you, Kevin Holland. That's all I
We really are.
We're blessed
we really
to have
are.
you.
Kevin doesn't think highly of me, but I think that guy was a tremendous fight.
It was a fun fight. And again, if we're talking MMA and tactics and strategery, is that a word? Strategery.
I think so. Is that a word? Strategery.
It doesn't matter. Strategy. It is now.
Strategy.
No, it's strategery, Richie.
Strategy. This goes back to like the quadrilogy, right?
Yes, the quadrilogy and the strategery of a quadrilogy. On that note, last weekend was awesome. UFC Orlando, UFC 282. It's coming up. But first, we got a guest, Billy Q. He's fighting this weekend. Fighting on.
Bring him on in.
282. Let's bring in Billy. Hey, what's up, Billy? We got Billy Q joining us, who will be participating in the pay-per-view this weekend. He's got a fight against Alexander Hernandez. First of all, Billy, how you doing? Welcome to the show, Michael.
Welcome. Good to have you.
It's good to have you, buddy. How are you feeling going into this fight week? Pay-per-view, nice spot. Where's your mind and body at?
Yeah, guys, thank you for having me. I've talked to both of you guys a couple times, like kind of in different scenarios. Big fan of both of you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, man, fight week. I'm still in Tampa. I'm leaving here in a couple hours. I got to go pack. I like to pack last minute. My wife hates it, but it is what it is. And I can't wait to get it on and popping.
Man, you jumped in here hours before a flight. Listen, this is what Roundup brings, Michael. Do you see this?
It does.
We get big names. We get big stars. We're getting big sponsors coming soon. We got Billy.
That's right.
He's got a big fight this weekend, and he took the damn time to talk to us, Michael.
Yeah, and I'm glad that I wish I could have just came to where you're at. We could have done this live together because I'm in Tampa at my aunt and uncle's house. But, Billy, I want to kind of dive into the fight a little bit. Alex Hernandez, a guy, he kind of leans on his athleticism a lot. And this is his first fight in a long time, first fight in the UFC. He's coming down to featherweight. And you're a guy that's just got this tremendous pace. You're the type of guy that from the opening bell to the closing moments of a fight, you can push the same kind of pace. How do you feel like that's going to play, his athleticism and explosiveness playing into your durability and the way you're able to maintain such a high pace through the course of a fight?
Yeah, Mike, that's exactly how I'm looking at this. And by the way, it was funny that I appreciate you just DM me. If you want to come on the show, I'm like, heck yeah. Avoided the managers. I'm like, let's just get right to it with the boys. I'll never say no to fighters doing this kind of stuff. I love it. So yeah, I'm looking at this fight exactly how you mentioned it. He's coming down to 145. I'm the type of guy who I'm going to push a pace on anyone, especially a guy who's really good in the first round. He's really good with big knockouts. I'm very hard to take out. So he needs to try to finish me early. And if not, I'm completely prepared to strike for 15 minutes or wrestle for 15 minutes. I'm going to be in his face the whole time. And if he can't deal with that pressure, I'm going to break him. And if he can deal with it, I'm still going to try to break him and try to knock him out. So it's a very interesting matchup. I've had a long training camp. I'm completely healthy. I've had a long time to really prepare for this guy. And I think my strengths are his weaknesses. And as long as I can avoid those big shots and I can start putting it on him early and start breaking him, I think it's going to be a great night for me.
And Billy, we talk about that just relentless pressure, that toughness. What do you attribute that to, right? We see a lot of guys, they always talk about their cardio, they talk about their pace, but it just seems like sometimes that's just something you can't train. So where do you think you get that from?
Yeah, so I think it started with I've kind of thought about this. I don't do a ton of I know what you're doing, like the marathon running and the like the triathlon stuff. I'm not like that really. I'll do some of that stuff. Like I'll run and bike, but nothing crazy. A lot of it comes from all like jujitsu, like a lot of jujitsu rounds. Like I hate taking rounds off. I like hitting mitts for a long time. But a lot of it started because I got into MMA kind of late. I was already 21, and it almost started from almost like a lack of skill set. And I would just come out and just try to break you, try to pressure you, try to hit you, try to wrestle you, try to wear my opponent out. And that turned into now I have the skill sets. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I've been boxing and doing Muay Thai for over 10 years. But I still like pushing people because I still like trying to break them. And I love that feeling of seeing my opponent, get tired, them taking that big deep breath, or in between rounds, I'm looking over and they're breathing heavy and their hands are on their coach. I love that feeling of knowing that I'm breaking my opponent. And I know if I can still be at 70, 80% and they're at 20 or 30%, I can beat anyone. So if I can get them to that point where they're breathing heavy and I'm pushing them and they don't want to keep up with that, I love that feeling. So I'm trying to do that pretty much every fight.
That's awesome, man. And that's on full display. And that's what I love about watching you fight. I love guys like that. I love it when people in between rounds want to be the first one up. They want to get to the center, kind of almost like when Poirier fought Holloway, right? Like, come on, get off the stool. Let's go right now. We can't wait to see you fight this weekend. Always exciting to see you. But when we're on Roundup, we like to bring you guys on. We like to have a little fun too. And we got some fan questions. We're going to get into some stuff. So let's get right into it. We want your opinion on all of these questions too. Me and Michael will jump in as well. But the first one, here we go, is when does Patty get a ranked opponent? And does a victory here equal that? Billy, let's go to you first, right? This is a weight class.
Let's let Billy lead the charge on all the questions.
We'll let you go first.
All right,
what do you think, Billy?
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think what most fighters think is this is his first really tough test. This is someone who isn't just going to give up an easy takedown. This is someone who could probably grapple with him. This is someone who comes from a really good gym. I think a win here most likely earns him a ranked opponent. I'm rooting for my boy, Matt Frivola, who just got a huge win. I was in his corner this past weekend. He's been wanting that Patty fight forever, so I would love to see him get his opportunity because he's kind of been overlooked in some big fights. But yeah, I think it's most likely time for him, if he can get past Jared Gordon, to possibly get that fight. But I don't know, man. I think I was really surprised that he's a favorite against Jared Gordon. I think this is easily his toughest test. And it's going to be a very interesting fight to see how it plays out here. But a win over Jared Gordon would definitely earn him, a ranked opponent.
I'll jump in now, Paul. And for me, I'll take my bias out of this because I like Jared a lot. I think Jared's a tremendous human being. And I know, Paul, you feel the same way about Jared. You guys have been close for a long time. This is probably the toughest matchup that Patty's had in his career. And I followed his career close. He's fought guys like Julian Erosa and Cage Warriors. He's fought a lot of really tough guys. But I think Jared's the toughest test because you're not just going to – Jared's kind of seen it all. He's done it all. He's been in there with a lot of different guys. I just don't see Patty being able to use that type of recklessness to get Jared out of position. Jared's a very positionally sound fighter. His hands are always in the right place. He strikes well. He grapples well. And where Jared shines the most is the guy's got tremendous ground and pound. I love seeing the types of traps and things that Jared does when it comes to the way he fights his opponents in the guard, when he has them on their back. And I think if Patty really tries to throw himself at Jared and get this fight to the floor, I don't think it's going to bid well for him. So for me, I don't see Patty winning this fight. So I don't think he fights a ranked opponent next. I think that he's going to come up short, and maybe he gets that Matt Frivola fight that you talked to, Billy.
Yeah, I agree with you, Michael, on the ground and pound stuff with Jared. I trained with him for years and years. He's a very close friend of mine. I think the only thing that Patty has a really huge advantage in this fight at all is the crowd, the pay-per-view, the shine. I think skill for skill, Jared's shown that he's maybe a little more experienced and better in all of the departments that Patty has shown where he excels, except for the fact that he thrives in the moment. He thrives for these big pressure situations. So I think that's the one place where he might have an advantage. Other than that, I think Jared's got the skills to maybe match him or beat him everywhere. But if he does get that W, I don't know. I think he deserves it, but I think that the UFC is just going to keep slow playing him. He's such a big guy that they're trying to push and make a huge star that even if he does go and get a big win over Jared, I don't necessarily see him getting a huge ranked opponent, similar to Sean O'Malley and how they really slow played everything that he did, but we'll see. But speaking of,
even think about this. I mean, not just the last thing I want to say about Patty is that even if he wins and you want to give him a ranked opponent, who are you going to give him? Arman Sarukian?
Good luck.
It's not really going to bid very well for him.
The lightweight division is stupid, right? Lightweight 45, they're so stacked. You don't really get any easy fights, Billy. You know that for damn sure.
Mm-hmm.
Even guys, top 20, top 15, you're fighting absolute savages no matter how you shake it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you nailed it with, it seemed like a lot of his opponents were kind of defeated before it even started. The last two were in London. The crowd's going crazy. They kind of had that look in their face. And Jared Gordon's already had some really big fights. So I don't think it's going to affect him the way it's affected his last two opponents. So that'll be a really fun to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to see how that plays out. But speaking of Patty, we got the video that we've all seen, making its rounds. We got to ask, guys, if your dog craps like muddy, crappy diarrhea all over somebody's lawn, it's late at night or super early in the morning, you don't have anything to clean it up, what are you guys doing? Are you doing what our man Patty the Batty did here and knock on their door and ask for a garden hose? Or are you just going and slipping through the night air and getting the hell out of there? Because I'll tell you what, I'll start. I'm hoping it rains tomorrow and I'm getting the hell out of Dodge. Or I'm rubbing it in, Michael. You got a dog. You know what I mean? You do the old, I tried to pick it up, but, my poop bag just wasn't good enough.
For me, in my current living situation, I live out in the woods. So I'm not picking it up. And I don't really carry a bag with me. So I think I would just grab like some pine needles, pile the pine needles on top, maybe stomp it down, rub it in. But I don't think anybody in our neighborhood picks up any. I'd say it's bear crap or something, that's just bear.
Yeah,
poop,
your dog's crap looks like bear crap. I've seen your dog. It don't look like bear crap. Your little Frenchie is not chatting out logs like this. What about you, Billy? You got any animals?
Yeah, I actually do. It's funny you mentioned that. I did not expect this question, and I actually was walking my dog, and I actually had to clean up some of his poop. Luckily, it wasn't muddy like that. But yeah, I don't think I live in Florida. I'm not knocking on anyone's door unless they watch me. And I think you kind of nailed it with unless they watch it do it, and then I get like, oh, sorry guys. But yeah, if it's the middle of the night,
I'm out.
I'm probably just walking by too and letting someone else deal with. Let nature take its course.
I'm doing what Michael's doing. Even if I'm in the city, kind of where I'm at, or in the suburbs, just out of the city, I'll just sprinkle some leaves on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was with my uncle yesterday. My uncle always walks his dog when it has to go to the bathroom. We're walking in the suburbs of Tampa, and he had like 4 plastic bags in his pocket because Coco Leash, he's a little
my dog
he pooped a bunch, so he
leash,
just was whipping out all these bags. I'm like, God, you're a good Samaritan.
Yeah, our leash, we have the little container that I pull them out right there, man. We live civilized around here, Michael. I don't know about you down, over
Not
there.
me. I'm a hillbilly. I'm just out in the sticks, just rubbing it in.
rub some mud on it. All right, we got another fan question. Let's pull it up, Richie. With the year coming to an end, what is your guys' pick for fight of the year? Man, this is loaded. Billy, I'm going to put you on the spot. There's so many to choose from. I don't think there's really any wrong answers here. So far, there's a million of them that we've had a long year with a lot of fights. What's been one fight that's really stood out for fight of the year?
All right. So for me, it's so I've had the opportunity to go to a few fights this year, and I've obviously watched a bunch of them on TV. The two that really stick out for me was early this year in Jacksonville, the Gilbert Burns versus Hamzat. I had great seats for that. They're just beating the crap out of each other. Super, super close fight. Hamzat obviously got the win, but man, just what a crazy fight that was. And then I would say this past weekend, I was at the one, and it might be one of those that's just fresh in my head.
Yeah.
But man, Wonder Boy and Kevin Holland, I loved it. I was absolutely a huge, just loved the fight. I actually had someone DM me because I was like, oh man, that might have been fight of the year. And this guy DM'd me and he's like, oh no, it was like a sparring session. They're high-fiving each other. I'm like, yeah, I didn't love the high fives. And I didn't like how Kevin Holland like let him stand up a couple times. I'm sure he regrets that now. He has to, right? But they were high-fiving each other, but then Wonder Boy's whipping these spinning hook kicks and all these crazy kicks. And Kevin Holland was probably one of the first guys to make him stand with him and make him trade with him. And he brought out that dog in Wonder Boy, which I love to see. So for me, it would have to come down to those two. Fresh in my head, I love that fight this past weekend. So it's definitely one of those two.
Yeah, recency bias with this just takes over, man. I mean, Wonder Boy in Holland was a tremendous fight. Nothing about that was a sparring match. Those guys were tagging each other. I mean, when you're sparring, you're not trying to completely knock each other out unless you're not sparring properly. But, there's a fight that kind of gets brushed to the wayside when you talk about the superstars like Gilbert Burns, Hamzat Chimaev, Kevin Holland, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Everybody forgets about Nate Landwehr versus David Onama. I mean, that fight was nuts. It was at the Apex. You could hear every shot. Nate Landwehr coming back to life like he always does. That was a really fun fight, and I think that's a one.
Yeah, that was Richie. You're right. That was in San Diego, I think.
It was San Diego. It was San Diego. Yeah. I was thinking of Cater, and that's another one I'll say was Cater and Giga Chikadze was another good fight. That one was at the Apex. But yeah, David Onama versus Nate Landwehr. That I got to give those guys some shine because everyone's going to talk about Burns and Chimaev. Everyone's going to talk about Wonder Boy and Holland. But Nate Landwehr made good on what we've all watched him make his career. He built his career on these crazy fights in M1, and that was a fun one to watch for sure.
Yeah. He called me out after, so he can get it too.
Yeah.
There we go. Matt Schnell and Sumu Darji was another one that was absolutely epic. Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier is another one recently that was pretty bananas. The year has been full, but I like the Hamzat one and Gilbert Burns. That I called that fight, Billy, and that was in freaking sane to be that close to that fight and watch those guys go at it like that. So again, this year has been packed full with some. I'm sure we're going to go back after this show and we're going to be like, oh God, we could have mentioned whatever the fight is. So I'm sure the fans will let us know how wrong we were on all of
that's
this.
something. Anybody watching this in the comments, we want to
please let us know.
What your fight of the year is. What's been the best fight so far? So in case there's something we forgot, I'll have to go back.
Let us know. Yeah. Let's get one more fan question while we have you, Billy. Let's throw it up here. What's your favorite post-workout meal? This is a good one. Now, Billy, we can make this post-fight meal, but you just put in some insane work. Let's say you just got done a crazy 3-round fight. You got the dub. What are you going with?
Oh man. So there's a huge difference for me now from like my post weigh-in workout or my post weigh-in meal and my post fight meal, because when I was coming up, I don't know about you guys, but I used to just do like the dumbest shit where I
Ice
would
cream.
Yeah, I would eat like I remember one time I weighed in and I drank a little bit of water and then I went to Chipotle and I ate. I'm like eating full. I'm like, oh, I'm not even getting full. I'm not even getting full. And sure enough, I finished it. And when I left, I started getting like the sweat. And I started puking everywhere. And I'm like, never again. So for me now, I try to stay as disciplined as I can. You know, eat a lot of good food, but then after the fight, I gotta say my favorite is like Italian food, like chicken piccata, pasta,
Paisan. Hey.
all the bread. Yeah, growing up on those Sunday dinners.
Mom, where's the gravy?
Exactly. For me, it's got to be that. It's all the stuff that I can't eat during training camp. The cheeses, the breads. I'm thinking about it now. I'm in fight week. I'm doing my water.
Oh yeah, I bet you're salivating right now talking about all this food.
Yeah, I'm drinking water for lunch right now, and you guys know that's one thing about fighters. We appreciate the food so much more because you got to suffer through it. So it's a gift and a curse because when you finally get that food that you couldn't eat, oh my God, there's nothing better than it.
Yeah, when I retire, I'm gonna be like Marcos Maidana. Like I'm just gonna be fat and south of the border.
You guys are missing
living the life.
Why do you think I'm over here running marathons, dude? I eat everything. Do you know what I had today after a ride? I had 4 of those fudge covered Oreos, and I just had a burrito. I'm gonna go upstairs, do a little bit of an ab workout, and then I'm gonna drink Golden Monkeys and beers afterwards. And then tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and do it all over again. You fools!
I'm gonna go for a run today before I hit the Bucks game. I got field passes. I'm gonna drink a lot of big pills.
You better hit a run.
Yeah, but for me, I'm the same as you, Billy. Like after weigh-ins, I used to be so bad, dude. It was before I lost to Masvidal. I remember I used to eat like everything, and like before that fight, my first pro loss. At dinner, they wheeled out a dessert cart, and I was like, I want one of everything. I want a bite of every single thing, and I did. I took a bite. I bought every single dessert, and I took a bite off every single one. And then the next day for breakfast, I had like brioche French toast with like cream cheese filling and like barbecued that fight, lost, never did it again. But I'm the same as you. I stay disciplined after weigh-ins. Post fight, it's always pizza. Like it's just like that's the worst food to have in training camp. I feel like is pizza. Like you can make a healthy burger. You can make like a gluten-free bun. Like you could make a camp-friendly burger, but like you can't make a camp-friendly pizza. It's just like it's not possible. So post-fight,
sure as hell can.
Bring on the pizza.
You sure as hell can. You can definitely make a camp-friendly pizza. You've got to time. Yes, you can have cheese. You got to time it right, though. You got to make it like a Saturday. You got to have an epic sparring day or a crazy strength and conditioning workout, right? And it's got to be early on too. Like you can't have. You got to make a little one too. Like you can't have a 12-inch, 16-inch pizza. But I did the same thing, man. I remember when I fought James Vick. This is a dessert story, right? I was so disciplined. I think I had Ian Larios doing my weight cut, or the team of, you know what I mean? The Lockhart guys were there. They made sure I did everything clean, and then everybody disappeared. It was just me and Jared Gordon in the hotel restaurant. Okay. And he's like, we're looking at the menu, and there's all these desserts, and there was this crazy sundae on the menu. And bro, I took that thing down, and I remember going up to my room that night to the point where you guys remember this. You get that food belly coma the night of your weigh-ins to the point where I was in so much pain. I don't think I got out of my clothes. I think whatever I was wearing, I felt this night before a fight and fell asleep with the pillow on my stomach because of the amount of ice cream. I got the W, so it doesn't matter. I also got a punctured lung from it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got a piece. You should have kept that piece alone in like a jar, like a memento, that little chunk that you posted the picture of.
Yeah, the chunk of lung. Yeah. Since you're still in the process of going into fight week and, like you said, drinking water for lunch, we're going to show you a sandwich that I think is going to turn you off from wanting to have a delicious meal. Let's take a look at this video from our friend Sage Northcutt. Okay. Trifecta. Yeah. Okay. When I think of sandwiches, I don't think of Trifecta.
No. And look at those chicken breasts. There's not even seasoned
or sliced. Guys throwing mushrooms in here.
You can't. You have to slice the meat if you're going to put it on a slice of bread. If it's on a bun, you can put it on the bun.
Oh, you know what? You know what? Too, for the longest time, I watched this video a couple times. I thought for the longest time that was a frying pan. That's just he's just going straight plate. I thought he was melting this stuff. Guys, that was garlic. That was minced raw garlic that he put on there. Sage, do me a favor. Don't ever make a sandwich again. Okay.
Don't ever post this crap again. He put half an onion on there. He probably stinks, you know, and then he puts cilantro on a sandwich. Ketchup. Who puts ketchup on a sandwich?
And I love ketchup. I love ketchup.
I love ketchup too, but it doesn't belong on a sandwich like that. If that's a sandwich, if you're gonna have a chicken sandwich on sliced, like that's look like a 9-grain bread, you got to have like lunch meat. You got to have like an aioli, you know, but no, you put ketchup on there. Like, what the hell is that?
Really, are you still hungry?
It doesn't look good for me right now. I wouldn't even want to eat that. I'm not a big mushroom guy either, especially like those look like they were like raw mushrooms. And yeah,
I like mushrooms and all, but you know, not on my sandwich.
Not with all that other stuff, right? Yeah, that must have been
a try. If I was you, I'd rather have my ice chip salad than that sandwich.
Billy, if you were to have your sandwich right now, if you could pick your best spot to get a sandwich, what type of sandwich are you getting? Doesn't have to be any. You don't have to name any spots, but what would you have right now? Fight's over. And we're saying you can have any sandwich.
I would probably go. In my hometown, there's a place called Viola's, and it's funny because they don't accept cash. The lady, they're always like these ladies. They're kind of rude to you. Like they're like, like they're all Italian too, and they make the best steak and cheese sub. So it's like steak and cheese. They have this crazy seasoning on there, like sliced up lettuce, some mayo, the oil. Like double meat, double cheese. That would be my go. Like they wrap it up in this thing and like all the seasonings all around it. Oh man, I would crush one of those right now.
That sounds good.
That sounds pretty damn tasty. Well, listen, Billy Quarantillo, everyone, thank you for joining us on UFC Roundup. He is fighting this weekend, UFC 282. Please tune in. This guy is fighting Alexander Hernandez. It's going to be a banger. This guy brings it every single time he's in the octagon. And Billy, you've been a great guest. I would love to have you on, maybe post-fight, post-pay-per-view.
You got it.
Maybe you can come on with whatever sandwich you choose to come on.
I like that.
We can talk about how sandwiches are supposed to be made.
I'm going to be in Vegas on Sunday. Hopefully I can find some good, probably some bakeries, some
there's plenty.
Dude, if you need some recommendations, brother, I know all the spots. I got all the spots.
I got a true veteran move.
I got you, dude.
Anytime you guys want me, just slide in my DMs. We don't have to get the managers involved. I'll always come on, and anytime fighters want to interview me, I'm always down.
Hey, likewise, Billy. If you ever need me for anything, brother, you give me a call, and it's good to have you on. Best of luck. Love watching you fight. Thank you for coming on Roundup. And as I say to all my buddies that are fighters, hips, hands, heart, and have fun, brother.
Yeah.
All right, I will do, guys. Have a good one. Peace.
Thanks, brother.